Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go.
And let's go. It's Ballsy Uncut for another day. This would be episode 76. We got a great show in store. I want to thank our sponsors, Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina. Go check out Michael Barth and the gang. They also have a location in Saskatoon, but you go into the Regina one, 101 Dudney Avenue, and you got yourself 10% off. Tires, mechanical needs, meaning braking, that type of stuff. Also, District Brewing and their Super Squeeze Seltzers, Mango Lime and Passion Fruit line. They got IPA. They've got light beer. They've got their Pilsner. Had that in full effect for a great cup party at Gerhardt Studios, along with some great pizza from Stats, Cocktails, and Dreams. Thanks to those guys, those two companies, for sponsoring the great cup party. This, Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show, which we do after every Rider game and all the playoff games in Grey Cup, will be going down at Gerhardt Studios starting next year. So looking forward to that. All right, we got a great show in store, so let's get right to it. 3 guests today. We're going to start with former NHLer Todd Elik, who also played 8 years in the NHL, went to Europe. He's back coaching. I know he's coached the Regina Caps before, and he is an assistant coach with the Assiniboia Southern Rebels. So he will join us on the show, as will Mike Kelly from the NHL Network, talk about some of the goings-on in the NHL, including the 4-nation face-off team rosters, Canada, the U.S., Sweden, and Finland. So he will join us before it's all said and done. And the new head coach of the BC Lions, Buck Pierce, will join us. I had quite the day today. I started the day getting my teeth done. Man, dental hygienist Megan moved here for Medicine Hat. She worked on my teeth. I've got great teeth, but I don't floss. Not going to lie to you. My teeth are so tight, I get turned off. I know a little bit too much information, but they don't get paid enough money. Dental hygienists do not get enough money. That's what I'm going to say. Also went to Bear Envy and got some of my sunspots. Can't see it right now, but got that lasered off my face today. And I went and got a pedicure. The old Vic Square Mall there. So, yeah, it's kind of treating Ballsy kind of day. Pedicure, Ballsy. Come on, that's not very manly. Get yourself a pedicure. Get that nice back massage. And as a diabetic, gotta watch my feet, my eyes, my teeth. So yeah, it was a pretty good day that way. But because of all of that, I couldn't get a hold of Mark Killam. I was gonna do kind of like a coach's corner, Killam, Pierce, and Todd Elik. But 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Mark Killam will join us next week. It just couldn't work it out. He's getting his new staff all together, meetings, all that type of stuff. So we will get him next Tuesday. But we do have Buck Pierce coming up on the show. First, the sponsor break. And we'll get the Todd Elik of the Richardson Pioneer Junior B Southern Rebels out in Assiniboia. All right, here with former NHLer Todd Elik. Now, Todd, I'm not a tree hugger. I don't hug trees. I don't count snowflakes. But there's got to be something up with our weather. Like the last 2 winters or so, man, we've been getting rain where we're supposed to get snow. It's just kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's hit and miss. I'm down in the southwest corner here, just south of kind of Swift Current. We kind of get different weather down this area, but again, it's Saskatchewan, right? So it's unpredictable. So you just gotta go with it.
Have you done a lip stand yet? I fell down steps. Before I iced my driveway. I took a header. Have you fallen down yet?
No, knock on wood. I haven't succumbed to that yet. So no.
But I'll tell you what, though, it's kind of wreaked havoc with the Richardson Pioneer Southern Rebels. Your game got canceled. Kind of practice is getting canceled.
Yeah, it's been a bit exactly. It's been kind of a pain in the ass, a bit of havoc for sure. Just trying to be patient and safe, and I mean, it's out of our hands. I guess the bus company kind of controls that. So
Yeah, and you know what? With what happened in in the past, and you referenced Swift Current in '86, and then of course the Humboldt thing in 16. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just you don't want to take any chances, right?
No, absolutely. But yeah, so, yes, and with insurance, everything. Yeah, I think they're taking every precaution. So
Hey, I don't want to make this a downer interview, but where were you when that happened? I remember I was on the radio on CKRM talking to the host of the show at that time, and we were talking about the riders starting up, and then all of a sudden we got news about the Humboldt bus crash and then
we
everything.
were.
We know what happened.
I was actually, I was assistant coach with the Regina Capitals Junior B team. We were on our way up to Delisle to play a game, and we got into Saskatoon and just had heard about the tragic accident with the Broncos, and it was a shock for everybody. We ended up in Delisle. We postponed the game because everybody was kind of messed up. So we
Yeah.
we we rescheduled, and yeah, it was very tragic, very sad. So
Yeah, no, and I think guys like I've been on a bus as a football player and as a broadcaster for hockey. You've been on it as everything in hockey. It really hits home when something like that happens, doesn't it?
yeah, but I would know what do you do in that situation? I mean, shit, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah. No kidding. Okay, so talk about coaching the Junior B Southern Rebels and coming back, and you referenced Junior B here earlier a couple seconds ago, but now you're coaching the Southern Rebels.
Yeah, we've Curtis brought me in, and Curtis does a great job. I'll kind of plug him here. We have a great rink, great dressing room there. Just a really nice facility for the boys, for the team. We're not struggling, but we're slowly getting better. Yeah, we're just we still have time. I guess it's not how start. It's not how you start. It's how you finish, and we're slowly getting better.
Yeah, so is it a surprise that it's been such a slow start for the team this year?
I think it's a battle getting players to come because it's a bit of a jaunt down there. A lot of times, our coach has to post who can make practice and games, so you get what you get, and then the players who you have, you just go with.
Yeah, and like I said, you throw the weather in there. It is kind of so in terms of you're a dedicated guy, dedicated your whole career to hockey. How tough is it when it's trying to get guys to buy in and be there consistently and everything like that?
That's a good question, Ballsy, because I've really taken a backseat to that. Really, especially with the new generation and the way hockey is. I don't put too much stock into that. It's kind of a learning process, so I'm just gonna take it for what it is and give my 2 cents and be supportive, and hopefully we play well.
So back in the day, the coach would tell you, Elik, do this. Elik, go into the crowd, take $5 from your mom, and come back on the ice and come to the bench. And you wouldn't ask questions. It's a different world. It's a different world now, Todd. How do you coach now? Because you were wired a different way. I can already tell you're like me. You're wired a different way.
I'm taking a different approach. How do I say it politely? I just again go through. Oh, geez. To me, the game is quite easy. Really, the game is easier at the highest level. Pretty much everybody does their jobs. You're just trying to make the game easier for the players. Have 3 or 4 points, inputs, make the game easy again for them. Like I said. And just buy in, try to play well defensively, do the job in your own end. Don't turn pucks over, pucks in and out at the blue lines. Win your one-on-one battles, and when we get a scoring chance, try to score.
And just tell us, for people that haven't watched this team, and I plan to make it down for a game or two, what kind of style does this team play? Like what are some of the strengths of this team?
Yeah, I think we're talented. We have a good offensive-minded players. We do have good goaltending. We can get better, obviously, defensively. We give up goals, which isn't the best, but I think we try to play a high tempo and exciting brand of hockey.
Yeah, Curtis talked about the rink, so maybe you can expand on that. What's that like to come from, to go to a Junior B rink and have that, that caliber rink for a Junior B hockey team?
You know what, the old barn, I've only been in it a couple times, and it's a classic. I mean, to be honest, I missed it actually, but the new arena is amazing. It's for a small town to have a facility like that. It's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, and it's funny that you should say, I know it's the destination, maybe it's a bit of a jump, but do you think that would be a bit of a drawing card to go in a rink like that?
I really think Curtis, I don't know, maybe his plan, maybe a year or 2 years down the road is maybe go up a league. I think maybe that's the plan, and they definitely do have a facility for that.
Hey, we talked about maybe some of the frustrations or just figuring out how to be a different kind of coach. What do you like about coaching? Like, what drives you to coach?
The best for me is when you actually tell a player what to do, they kind of get it. So that's kind of a reward. Yeah, and they after a while you're beating a horse after a while, and you kind of lay off, and you hopefully that they get it, and then eventually over time you don't have to say anything. They actually get it. You just open the door and watch them go.
Who's the best coach you ever had?
I've had a couple. I mean, Tom Webster in LA was very good to me. Kevin Constantine. But see, you're at the NHL level. You really have to do your job. If not, you're replaceable. So there's such a demand is so high. Eh?
Todd, give me your welcome to the NHL moment. When did you realize, okay, I'm in the NHL?
I got called up. My first game was in Montreal. I was in the minors at the time in New Haven with LA's team. We played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. LA was played in Montreal on a Monday, and I was sleeping. And my GM, Pat Hickey, had called me at 2 and said, listen, you got called up. And I was like, yeah. He says, no, you have to get to Hartford to get a plane to get to Montreal. And pretty much that's how it worked. And then walking into the forum, and then obviously walking into the dressing room, seeing all those names, I had to pinch myself for sure.
Yeah, so did the game go by in a whiz, or do you remember the game?
Actually, I got one shift, and I tripped over the blue line, but I had the best seat in the house. I'll tell you, it was great.
Yeah. So what was it like walking into a dressing room like that from the minors?
You've got Gretzky there, Larry Robinson, Marty McSorley, Rob Blake, Kelly Rudy. I mean, Dave Taylor, Luke Robitaille, Mike Kruseniski, Steve Casper, Steve Crowder. So I mean, there's almost like Hall of Famers, and
yeah,
I was just in awe. I really was. Yeah, I was just.
Who took you under his wing there? Like, who welcomed you into the room?
Actually, Luke was a big help, but Marty was really a big help to me. I eventually stayed. They told me to get a place to live, and Marty had asked me. He kind of knew I needed a place, and he had extra rooms, and he asked me to stay with him, and I said, "Are you okay with that?" And the rest is history. And so it was fantastic.
So did you? Isn't that the year you scored like 30-some goals? Didn't you score like 30 goals?
No, not in the NHL. I didn't. No.
What was the most you ever scored in the NHL?
25.
25. That was with San Jose, right?
That's
25.
Right, yeah,
25
right.
with San Jose. So, so do you have a favorite goal? Do you have a favorite memory? I guess this is the question I always ask people, Todd. If you could go back in young Todd Elik's body and play one game over again, what game would that be? What game would you be in right now?
It would probably be the game where we had the chance to beat Edmonton to go on into the third round, meeting the conference final.
Yeah.
I wish obviously to win a Stanley Cup, and that would have helped us to get to that stage. So.
Yeah, were you on the? Help me out here, because I'm an Oilers fan. I remember you on the Oilers briefly. Yeah, I remember you on the Oilers briefly. Yeah.
I was there for a cup of coffee. But
yeah. So 89-90, was that the year the Oilers? Was that is that the year the Oilers won the Cup that year? Right, 89-90.
Yeah, in Boston. In Boston. Boston.
Yeah. So okay, so that's what you're talking about. Who's your best friend in hockey, Todd Elik?
I think Luke Robitaille and I think we're close.
Yeah.
I know Adam Oates I played with. Adam and I are quite close. But, Ballsy, to be honest with you, when the game's done, guys just go their own way, You don't really see them. They're with their families. But if you ever see them or bypass them, they're always very kind. So.
Yeah. Hey, did you take your stick home like Gretzky was saying on the TNT broadcast the other day? He was taking his stick home, and everybody's asking him why you take your stick home. He goes, I take my stick home every night. And then I think Bernie Nichols started to take it home, and then he got like 40, 50 goals that year. Then everybody was taking their stick home at night. Were you one of those guys?
No, not even close. Bernie scored 70 that year.
70 that year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That
goals, 80 assists.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your of all your travels? What was your favorite? Whether it was in the NHL, whether it was in the minors, whether it was in Europe, because you went over to Europe. What was your favorite place to play?
I would say in California itself with LA and San Jose, I really
Yeah.
we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't think Gretzky gets enough credit. If Gretzky isn't the guy that he is, the player that he is, we probably like you don't have a team in San Jose, you don't have Sunbelt hockey. Like Gretzky did so much for the game.
We did that like in 89-90. We were doing those games in Dallas, Tampa, and Florida, and he was the poster child for that. And eventually, they got close. Yeah, that's right.
Is there anybody you like to watch in the game today? Must see TV for you if you're watching the game, or do you watch much NHL?
I do. I love the game. I love watching. Obviously, I think Crosby still can go. I love watching McKinnon. I'm a big fan of Colorado. I think they're a good team. Obviously, Ovechkin. I hope he doesn't break it. But you know what? He's a hell of a player. And Matthews and McDavid, obviously, elite players. So yeah, they're a joy to watch. So
let me ask you this: you're not the first guy. I interviewed Jeremy Roenick on stage. JR and I become friends, and I interviewed him on stage in Weyburn, and he said the same thing. He hopes that Ovechkin doesn't break it, but he likes Ovechkin. So elaborate on that for me, because you just said the same thing.
You know what? He's such a different breed, Ballsy. He's a monster. He's a big man. He's not a pussy. He goes to hard areas. He actually hasn't missed a lot of hockey, and it looks like he's going to be back. I think 2 weeks earlier than his injury had stated. So the guy's a machine. I mean, you got to tip your hat. So
yeah, but you don't want him to break it. It's because you love Gretzky that much.
It'd be tough. I never thought that one would be touched, but
isn't that crazy?
You know, you gotta tip your hat. You gotta give him credit. You know.
So is Gretzky the greatest player that's ever played?
I think so. Statistically wise, I got to play with him. Unbelievable. I mean, 2-3 steps ahead of everybody. I think Mario, if was healthy, he was a total different dimensional guy. But I think number 4 was probably maybe the best, my opinion.
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned Crosby. We mentioned Crosby and Ovechkin. Crosby came in just before, or Ovechkin just before Crosby, or something like that. So I like how both of those guys have matured. I think that's a real case study for maturity, because early on, not a lot of people liked Sidney Crosby. He was kind of a powder, but I really like the guy. Like I hope Sidney Crosby, I hope he doesn't get traded. I'd love to see him end up just staying in Pittsburgh.
I think you're right, Ballsy. I don't think he's going to jump ship there. He's too loyal, and the club means too much to him. So, like you said, his early career, he was whining a bit, I guess like they all do, right? And then he smartened up and humbled up, and then look at him now. So,
do you remember I talked about your first NHL game. Do you remember your last NHL game?
I was in Boston. I can't remember who we were playing, but it was in '97. So.
Do you have a favorite? Did you have a favorite? Like you said, California, but was there a favorite rink to go to? Like, was it the Forum? Was it Maple Leaf Gardens?
I think MSG was probably really great.
Yeah,
just the buzz, you know. And the old Chicago Stadium was the best. I don't know if you got there.
No, I never got to the old Chicago one though.
That was the best by far. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and lastly, let's wrap it up with the Rebels here. What do you have to do in order to continue the momentum and get things turned around for your hockey team?
Yeah, we just got to play a bit better defense. Be ready to play when the puck drops right away. Obviously, score more goals than they do. And just keep building. We're not really getting blown out. One game but we're right in games. We lost 6-3 the other night, but 2 empty net goals. But we're right in it, and just have to be ready when the puck drops.
Todd, thanks for your time, man. This has been fun.
My pleasure, Ballsy. All the best. Thank you. Merry Christmas as well.
All right, that's Todd Elik. Listen, I apologize. I did that interview yesterday, just rushed home from the car dealership, Crestview Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Come in and see me. Anybody that gets a car for me this month is in a draw to get an autographed rider jersey, Obsidian Green rider jersey. I'll tell you who it is a little later on. And 2 tickets to the Riders home opener. But anyways, I rushed home from the dealership to get here to my house, to my studio to do that interview. I had my mixing board shut off. I turned it on and forgot to redo the audio setting, so it sounds way worse than it should have. I apologize for that. A one-man show with too many balls in the air. And my last name's Ball. Anyway, let's get to another sponsor break. And I'm really happy this guy is back in the league. Well, he was always in the league for the last few years, but I'm happy he has landed a head coaching job, and it seems like it's the right place. Buck Pierce, BC Lions. All right. I'm not just blowing sunshine up your ass, man. When you played football, like I've covered this league for almost 30 years, been a fan since 78 that I can remember. Okay, so I'm dating myself. And you were the next Matt Dunnigan to me. You were the guy that was tough and you were going to have that long career. So when it didn't pan out that way and your career was kind of cut short by injuries, I'm not going to lie to you, Buck, I was disappointed that I couldn't see more Buck Pierce.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I think, when I came into the league, I think everybody that comes up from the States, you want to prove yourself. And the opportunity, for me to, get some playing time early in my career, still learning how to be a professional quarterback, was tough. But then, I think anybody that, knew my history, knew the type of person I was, knew that I was going to get an opportunity and I was going to, leave everything out there on the field that I could. And that's kind of the way that I played. I ran the option in college. We didn't, throw it a whole bunch. So I was used to running the football. And this game, the wide field when I came up just, helped me adapt to it that way. And listen, the way that I was raised and the way that I, learned about the game of football, there's one way to play the game. And you play it as hard as you can, for as long as you can. And obviously, had some injuries, that halted some things, but no regrets on my part at all. I played the way that I wanted to play, and I did it for my teammates.
In what point of the process, or did it happen after maybe your playing career was cut short, where you decided, you know what, I'm going to try this coaching thing? Like the coaching thing is something I can continue, to develop as I go along in the football journey.
Well, I always, wanted to be around the game, and even as a player, some of my role models are my coaches. The impact that they have, on your life, and I knew I wanted to have that type of impact at whatever level, that may be. So. When certain times came to where, I had an opportunity to, get into coaching and impact, young athletes, and help them, support their families and help them, reach the level that they want to reach. It was a no-brainer for me, and I was fortunate enough to, do it there in Winnipeg where I had met my wife and we were able just to, transition that way.
So Buck, what would this Buck Pierce tell the young guy that was driving up with his dad from California to the free agent camp in Portland, Oregon? What kind of advice would you give the player? You played, you coached. What would you give young Buck for advice right now? If you could give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I think, the one piece of advice would honestly be, just continue to be yourself and do exactly what you did. I've always prided myself on, being accountable and, playing the game the right way, be the best teammate you can be. And, always put the team first. Right. And there's lots of times throughout, a player's career where there's uncertainty. You don't know where your next paycheck might come from, what the next year looks like. You're basically living out of a suitcase at times and it can be challenging, so. I tell myself, make sure you stay the course. Don't compromise your morals. Be the person that you are, and trust the process. I think a lot of people have asked me, would you change what you did, as a player? Would you have, maybe gone out of bounds or slid a little bit more? And I think that's a tough question. Honestly, when I look back and some of the hits that I've taken and those kind of things, I still cringe, and my kids get a laugh out of it a little bit, but I wouldn't change. I played the way I felt the game should be played. It probably shortened my career, but listen, I loved every opportunity, and I cherished every opportunity that I had to step onto the football field. And now as a coach, that's not lost on me.
Hey, you talked about coaches who have really inspired you or helped you or you looked up to. You've been associated with two of the best coaches in CFL history. Wally Buono's the GOAT. And then you just came from Mike O'Shea, who at the start of his career with the Blue Bombers, there was talk, is this guy going to make it? Like, he could get fired. I remember broadcasting a Labor Day game, or it was in Regina. I know that for a fact. I can't remember if it was the time when Winnipeg played two in Regina or it was the Labor Day game. And I was doing the pre- and post-game show on the sidelines, and I was in the end zone, waiting to see if the kicker from the Bombers would make the field goal. If he missed, I'd go to the Rider sideline and get the winning comments. If he made it, I'd go to the Bomber sidelines. He made it, I went to the Bomber sidelines, and then the rest is history. Mike O'Shea, one of the greatest coaches. So what's it like, what has those two guys meant to your career?
Well, I mean, it's hard to put it into words. Honestly, you think about all the experiences, that you have and the time that you've, spent together. Obviously, Wally bringing me into the league and having faith in me to, learn the game quickly. What I loved about Wally is he was always firm, but fair. He always did was best for the club, and the players, really, respected that about him. He was always truthful, and he always got the best out of guys, right? And I think that's a mark of a great coach is he's going to make the best decisions for the club, and he's going to get the most out of your guys. So just my time with Wally, just being a sponge. Obviously, I'm not on the coaching staff, but I'm on the team, and just seeing the way that he navigated, situations, and really you hear the term, father figure and those type of things, and how former players and teammates, speak about Wally. To me, that's more important than the wins. Obviously, his record is his record, and his legacy is that, but it's more about the man and the impact he's had on those guys' lives, including myself. When you talk about Mike, listen, I was on that first staff. I've been with Mike his entire tenure, and just an amazing journey. To watch him grow, and just be able to be a sponge. I think some of the best coaches are excellent observers. You just soak in as much stuff as you can. You ask questions. You continue to learn. But once again, when you look at Mike, it's the person he is. It's his relationship with the players. It's the father he is. It's the provider. All those type things. Lead to. They might not lead to wins. Right away. Those type of things. But he's got great integrity, and he's strong in his beliefs.
So my favorite NFL team are the as I call them, the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, and they've got Jim Harbaugh there now, who has proven to be the master culture builder wherever he goes. Stanford, San Francisco, Michigan. The Chargers, they're not a Super Bowl contender this year, but they're very much, they're on the radar and way better than they were last year. Wally Buono maybe builds culture in a different way, but he sets a culture. Mike O'Shea, you couldn't get a better culture than Winnipeg the last 5 years. So if I was to ask you, what is the one thing you need to have a good culture, what would it be? People. It all starts with the people. Obviously it's a business and it's a game, and we're there to do a job, but it's about the people you surround yourself with and how you treat those people. I think culture, is a hot topic for a lot of people. Obviously,
that word's, thrown around out there, quite a bit, either in a positive light or in a negative light. But it's the environment that the people create. And, as a head coach, that's one of your jobs, to create an environment that is challenging, that is competitive. We want to promote growth, and we want to get the right people in the building, right? So, we want it to be, a place that is exciting to be, but also is challenging.
So Buck Pierce, the player who was asked, should he have gone out of bounds? I only know one way to play. That's the way I played. Okay, so Buck Pierce, the head coach, what are you going to tell Nathan Rourke when he wants to get the extra 2 yards?
Well, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself.
Hey, what do you? So, truth be told, I'm good friends with Nathan and I'm good friends with VA. I've had them both on this show. So Nathan is a guy that when he left, he was on an ultimate high, and then he kind of bounced around, trying to live his NFL dream. And as I said to him, you're a human, man. You tried to reach the pinnacle in your mind, and you came back, and maybe it was a bit of a downer human-wise. Sometimes I think we've just, whether it's a coach or a player, we just think these guys are robots. They're humans, and there's a little bit of a downtime. What are you seeing from Nathan Rourke? What excites you about working with this guy?
There's a million things that gets you excited about a coach. I think the first thing you look at is the type of person he is. He is so driven. He is so ready to take that next step. He wants to be coached. He wants to go out there and perform at his best. He has all the intangibles physically that you want. All right, so now it's just putting him in position to be successful. Put some pieces around him that allow him to succeed and grow in the offense and grow as a leader. He I think when you're looking for a player as a coach, as an evaluator, you look for traits of leadership, and you look for the things that can't be measured. Nathan loves to work. He's going to work. He's going to work extremely hard. He has extremely high expectations, and that's going to set the bar for the rest of the players, right? So, as coaches, it can't all come from us, right? So it's going to come from the guys in the locker room. It's going to come from, the guys being able to work and continue to push that standard. We're going to set as coaches, but obviously it's going to come down to the players first.
So you were tough as a player. Is that the characteristic you want your team to take on the most, toughness?
Well, I think as much as the game evolves, and we all we watch every league. We watch football as fans, as coaches, and schemes change. Schemes change, tendencies change, all the analytics, all the other things that go into the game. But there's certain things that have been pillars of this game. For since its inception, and that's toughness. It's playing the game the right way. It's running to the football. It's great effort. So all those things are going to be our staple. The reality is, the best teams win. And the teams that are willing to, sacrifice, for each other, put their teammates ahead of everybody else, and are willing to do, things that are hard. When you look at, culture, you look at, what you're trying to build, really what you're trying to build is good people, that treat people the right way and work extremely hard. And that's what we're going to do. Do we have to get tougher? Yes. Everybody's going to get better. That's going to be something that we're really going to address this offseason, and we're going to look at, and something that we can hang our hat on.
So, Buck, two more quick questions for you here. I guess you were, you've probably aspired to be a head coach at some point. I know you were in the running, or you were interested in the Ryder job. What made this job, I don't want to say more attractive, but what appealed to you in the end about this job and leaving a good situation in Winnipeg?
I think, obviously, my time in Winnipeg was great. You look at every opportunity. I as a coach, I never had a timeline. I never had a, I had to be a head coach by this age and these things. Is it something that I've aspired to be? Absolutely. The opportunity to build with the right people and help lead an organization and influence others. Absolutely. When you look at the opportunities, that I've had, they've all came because of, hard work and the players, and the guys that I've had. So, every opportunity is, intriguing. Obviously, I'm a family first guy, and it's got to make sense for our family. And when this situation came up, it's something just like in the previous years. We wanted to look at, we wanted to have conversations. And that's really what it is. The timing was right. BC has a extremely special place in my heart for me. Obviously, from my playing days and memories there. And then, I feel extremely comfortable with the people surrounding me as well.
So here's my thing. I've never quarterbacked in the league. I've never coached in the league. So take with what I say with a grain of salt. I'm doing a podcast from my home studio. Okay. Okay. But I've never been a big fan in any league of a guy being a head coach and being in charge of one area of the team, like an OC or in Mace's case, a DC. I feel it might work better for you in this sense. Not that it didn't work for Corey here, but I feel like, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but you were an offensive coordinator, an assistant coach for a long stretch here. So you've kind of got that nailed down. Like, you know what I mean? You're comfortable calling plays. You're comfortable with the rhythm of calling plays, what you got to do. And then I think for you to take on the head coach role, it won't be as big a deal. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but how do you feel when I say that?
Well, I think, obviously, it's an extremely, difficult role, and as a young coach, obviously, you have to surround yourself with people around you that you can lean on and those type of things. Obviously, I've been calling plays for a number of years. I've been around excellent play callers. I've been out there in the huddle. I think the biggest thing, as former players that have multiple roles and things like that is still listen to your instincts. You continue to understand the flow of the game. Every game's different. There's not a blueprint to what wins each week. You have to be able to adapt. And I think as a play caller and as a head coach, those things go hand in hand, right? So to have the flexibility of being able to adjust, adapt in game. What does the team need? Are we playing complementary football? What are we doing well offensively? What are we doing well defensively? And how does that flow? I think that that really makes the best coaches.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last question for you, and then I'll let you go. Appreciate your time. Is there anything that a coach, like when you were a player or through your football journey, where you're like, if I ever get to be a head coach, I'm going to do it differently this way because I didn't really appreciate that as a player? Like, is there something like that you've thought about that, I might put because you just said you were a player, put yourself in the player's shoes. You've talked a lot about culture, family, that type of stuff.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you always have to keep in mind is that it's always about the players, right? And you have to create that environment that it is always about them, right? And we all have to have an understanding that not one piece is bigger than the other. To win at this level is extremely hard. Week in and week out. To win championships and those type things are extremely rare. That's why they're so special. And I think just making sure that everybody's on board. Everybody's working in the same direction. Like I said, there's from people in the ticket offices, to our coaches, to our players, equipment staff, athletic staff. We all have to be on the same page, and there's not one piece that's bigger than the other. So that's the biggest thing I think is everybody's got to be invested. And we all got to be going the right way.
Hey, do we have a bunch of BC Lions stocking stuffers for Christmas here? Like, is everybody getting BC Lions gear now or what?
It's funny because I mean, I think my mom and dad and my brothers, you know, they're everybody's dusting out the old stuff that they've had on, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I got to get them some of the new new era gear.
Hey, man, you're looking good in BC Lion colors again. I got to say, like I grew up a Rider fan, but the BC Lions were always my second favorite team, and anything to get you out of Winnipeg, okay?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the kind words. You know, we're excited to get this thing going.
Mike Kelly from the NHL Network and Sport Logic joining us. How are you, bud?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Mike Kelly from the NHL Network and Sport Logic joining us. How are you, bud?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, man. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get down to the thing. I always love following you on Twitter at Mike Kelly NHL. You should check it out, and you always have some great threads there. First off, and I noticed this, it was near the top of the thread of yours. Jake DeBrusk, he's been very hot, especially on the road for the Vancouver Canucks. What are you seeing in his game?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Canucks on the road in general, right?
Yeah.
They can figure out how to do that at home. We're talking about an elite team here.
Yeah.
He's been really good. I know that, you know, in October he didn't score, and as a new guy coming to a new market, especially a Canadian market, fans are going to notice that pretty quick. But he's kind of always been streaky, and yeah, he's on a nice little run right now in terms of goal scoring. His play around the net is so good. If you watch the goals that he scored as he's been on this run, deflections, rebounds, ton of rebound goals, just parking himself in front of the net, and he's got really good hands. So for a team that's missing some key players like Roenick and JT Miller, obviously Demko still, although he's kind of getting back in the fold now, they've kind of been able to stay afloat. And he's been a big reason for that.
Mm-hmm. So McDavid, we know how great he is. He's one of one. We all know that. But it's funny when you watch him play, because it's like you're watching, you know, the best Pee-wee or Bantam player when he always had the puck and everybody was scared when the guy was on the ice. But you actually had some interesting stats. Like, he's great, but he's great because a lot of the times he has the puck.
Yeah, no question. And as he got to 1,000 points, and he did it as fast as he did, the fourth fastest ever. Just looking at his career, like, what are some of the things kind of underneath the points that really jumped off the page? You know, he's more rush chances than anybody. We expect that, right? His possession time is through the roof, and the controlled zone entries. So when you think about a player carrying the puck into the offensive zone, and we know that he can do that with speed that very few guys can, with a processing pace that nobody can. He had over 5,000 in his career to this point, which is almost 1,000 more than anyone else. And the guy behind him is Nathan McKinnon. So when you've got that kind of separation in a really key area of the game from everyone else, including Nathan McKinnon, like, that's just one of those things that just kind of blows my mind. It was like when I was a kid looking at Ray Bourque, and he had like 1,000 shots more than anybody else. And you're just like, how do you have that much more than everybody ever? That's kind of what McDavid's doing with his speed and his ability. Yeah,
for sure. Mike Kelly joining us here from the NHL Network. So, Mike, I follow the Oilers closely, as you know, both when we talk on this platform and off it. I used to be a guy, or I most recently was a guy that was, you know, $9 million for Darnell Nurse. I'm not asking you to back this up with numbers because I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but it sure looks like, doing the eyeball test, he's playing better this year. I don't hear a lot of people bitching about his contract, including me.
Well, fair point, but like, think about this. He plays on a team in the Edmonton Oilers that is second in the league in expected goals against, right? So this is just what your goaltender has to deal with based on what you're giving up as a team. Now, he eats a lot of minutes on a team that is second. And I'll bring Evan Bouchard into this, because one thing that I've heard with Bouchard not being named to the Four Nations team was, well, you know, defensively you can be a liability, and that's why you go with maybe a guy like Parayko. And Evan Bouchard is not a defensive liability. You can't be eating that kind of minutes on a team that is that good defensively. And I've seen the pizzas that he's thrown up the middle and the couple of glaring mistakes that he's made this season. But overall, he is not a liability defensively. So Darnell Nurse, yeah, if you attach the dollar figure to it, and that summer with Seth Jones and others was crazy overspending for defensemen. Yeah, you could, I think, very fairly and objectively say this is not a guy that plays to that dollar amount, but that's all he can do is play the best that he can. And I'm with you. I think that, this season has certainly been better than big chunks of last season.
So talk to me, Four Nations, about Team Canada, your overall thoughts on the team that was named. Maybe start from the net out.
Well, they left arguably the best goalie available off the team in Logan Thompson. And look, there's the Thompson and Hill Vegas connection thing. And it's all I can speak to is on merit alone. Logan Thompson is deserving to be on the team. You can go to really anything. You can look at his record. You can look at his save percentage. You can look at his goals saved above expected. You can make a very good argument that he's the best available Canadian goalie, and he's not there. So we'll see. Now he doesn't have the big game pedigree that Binnington and Hill have. And that's worth something. So maybe that went into the consideration as well. Blue line, not really shocking anywhere. Again, I think Parayko maybe shocks some people. He's a good shutdown defenseman. Chris Tanev, I think you can argue, is as good, if not better, in that one specific role. Now he doesn't have the skating ability and other things, the size maybe. And at forward, Seth Jarvis is the guy that surprised a lot of people. I think when you're looking at that kind of depth, some people would say maybe you want a centerman, maybe a Mark Scheifele there. But they've got a lot of centermen. They've got center that'll be playing on the wing. Seth Jarvis he's a good player. He's versatile. He's quick off the rush. He's good defensively with his stick. He plays in Carolina. I mean, you have to be. And he knows how to get around the net as well. So look, like what I've said to other people kind of complaining about a name here or there is if Colton Parayko or Seth Jarvis is the difference, you're probably not getting what you need from the bigger guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. In terms of a sleeper maybe on that Canadian team, is there one guy that we're not talking about or doesn't get as much fanfare as, the McKinnons, the McDavids, the Makars, the Crosbys?
Well, I mean, I'll look at Sanheim as a guy who's had a really good year. I think he played his way onto that team. So, good for him. Brandon Hagel is an interesting player just with his speed and how well he's played this season. Like you wonder about guys, the way you phrase that could be really impactful, that maybe, are a real key in a game for the team. So, that's a name. Konechny's kind of a pain in the butt to play against, and he's had a really good season as well. They're loaded, right? Like, especially them in the U.S. team up front are just like anyone on those rosters could be the guy in a game. And it's a short tournament where you kind of have to win them all, more or less. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Who's got the better team, Canada or the U.S.?
On paper, the U.S. You talk about goaltending out. Their goaltending is significantly better. Their blue line is different. It's puck moving, puck possession. Kind of Canada they've got that too, but they obviously went with size and some shutdown as well. Forwards, you can kind of split them. I think, where I'll give Canada the edge here is twofold. One is anecdotal maybe to a degree. And the other one I think is kind of valid. The anecdotal is we win at hockey. It's just what we do, right? You want to go best on best, we're going to win. So they find a way. And the other thing is the Americans, I think at forward and everywhere else, they're probably deeper, better. If you're going to pick this tournament, maybe the first three people you pick, independent of what country you're from, are McDavid, McKinnon, Makar. And Crosby's probably not too far behind, and they're all on Team Canada. So
yeah,
the best of our best is the best.
Life's about timing, isn't it? Like Connor Bedard was ripping it up last year. He's had an off year, and so he doesn't make the team. And if Stuart Skinner makes one or two more saves and the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, how isn't Stuart Skinner on this team? Do you know what I mean?
For sure. I think coming into the season, he probably was, and he, again, probably played his way off the team. just with the struggle that he had to start the year. I think even if he won the cup, it's not a guarantee given the way that he played this season. But if you're talking in September, he's pretty much on everybody's team. But Hill and Binnington are kind of those guys anyways, have been there, been through it, played pretty well in those situations. Those guys did ultimately win a cup. Stuart Skinner's, a goal or two away from being that guy. So I would say more it was his play this year than the fact that they lost by a goal in Game 7.
So lastly, where are the Jets? Are the Jets closer to, listen, they started unbelievably record pace at the start. They've kind of cooled off, which is expected. How do you see the Jets, Mike Kelly?
Well, you go 15-1, you're obviously going to see a bit of regression naturally. Yeah. And we've seen that, but on top of that, they've actually played a lot worse. It's not just, they're still playing pretty well, but the record is evening out a bit. Like they've had real dips in their game. They're struggling to score goals right now. They're giving up more goals. Their defensive play has slipped quite a bit. So I still think they're a good team, but like I said at the start of the year, I've got 3, 4, 5 teams on my I don't trust you list because I bet on them before, and Winnipeg's one of them. I picked them the last 3 years in the first round. I thought they could beat Vegas. I thought they could beat Colorado. They come out in Game 1, they win, and you're like, you can see how it can happen, and then they lose 4 straight. So the Kings are on that list too, and they're playing great this year. The Senators I put on that list because I thought they were a playoff team last year, and you see what they're doing. So until you do, the Maple Leafs invented that list. So until you kind of see what these teams can do when it matters, it's even when Winnipeg was 15-1, I'm like, this is great, but because we saw a couple years ago they had a great first half and really struggled in the second half.
I want to get excited about the Sens. I really do. But like you said, you can't trust them. I can't figure that team out.
They are probably the most inconsistent team in the league. And, they've been losing a lot of 1-goal tight games where they've outchanced the opponent that you could say, quote unquote, you play that game X amount of times, you should win a lot more than you lose. But it starts to get real when you lose those games a lot more than you win. And there's something in there where they just don't seem to have that thing that a team like Vegas, other teams that just know how to, you're not always going to win those games. And they played a game against the Rangers. They played a game against Vegas that you're like, yeah, they should win that game. And maybe they do on another night. But when you consistently lose those games, there's something else there I can't quite put my finger on, but it's real.
Yeah. Follow this guy on X at Mike Kelly NHL. He's everywhere when it comes to hockey. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, good catching up with you, Michael.
Yeah, it's Mike Kelly. Thanks to Mike for joining me. Great to have him back on the show. Okay, our next show will be, I'm going to say, tomorrow I got a Christmas party to go to for Face First Medical Aesthetics. Some proprietor named Crescinda Tkach, who is my significant other, she is holding a party, so I got to go to that. So I'm thinking Thursday will be the next show. I've got Connor Chopper Hippie, will join us. The Crestview Chrysler Ram Tough Player of the Game, Ram Tough Player of the Year linebacker award given to the Rams' best linebacker. I was at the award ceremony last week, gave him out the award, so he's joining us in the podcast tomorrow. We got a couple of other things in the fire, just trying to dot the I's and cross the T's, but I'll let you know when the next one's out. You can catch all these episodes on X and Facebook and YouTube in replay mode or on Spotify. Okay. I'll be posting this one and Sunday's episode with Mason Nias coming up soon. Later tonight. I'm going to go to the gym now and then have a snack with my son. Speaking of my son, so I am a proud dad. I'm never going to shy away from being a proud dad. Being a dad is the most important thing I'll ever do in my life. I don't care about personal accolades. That will be the most important thing I ever do in my life is be a dad. And so I've got a great daughter named Mara. She is kicking ass in her 3rd year of psychology. She just sent me a text saying she got 99 in one of her finals. 90-fucking-9. I don't know if I ever got... No, in one university test, I got 110 because I got the bonus question right. But she's got like a 98 average. She does not take after her dad. I would say I would defer to her mom, who's a teacher. So Mara is smart that way. My son also smart, but I would like to think I had a hand in him getting to where he is in football. And I'm going to say I'm very proud to say that my kid did get an invite to the combine here in Regina. It's full circle, man. Full circle moment for our family. He's a guy that I've never ran drills with my kid in the park, except for when I coached his RMF teams. Hard to believe I taught him everything I know, and he's still a success to this point. And let's be honest, he's a long way from anywhere, but closer to getting to where he wants to go. But he's the guy that I gave him the choice. Do you want to stay in Canada? Do you want to have a chance at the States? But if you go to the States, you're going to have to switch positions. They're recruiting you as an athlete, not a receiver. So you might have to switch. No, Dad, I want to go try it out. So he goes to North Dakota in a pandemic. I can't even move him down. I can't even take him to the States. I can't move him down. I got to give him my car and buy another car to send him down there. Don't get to see him for the first year, because the world was all fucked up because of COVID. And as we turned out, most of it was bullshit. But so I couldn't go down there. He has to spend his whole first year down there by himself, switches positions, switches a new game to a new game at the second highest level in college football, because he was FCS Division I, not FBS, but he did play some FBS teams. So there's that. Then he was going into being a starter this year at North Dakota, this past year, with another year still on tap after that. He said, Dad, I want to play in the CFL. I think that's my best route to play pro football. And I want to play defensive back in a Canadian type of setting. So he went to the U of C with Mike Edom. Ben DeAndre, young coach, came over under the Ryan Sheehan coaching staff there. And Ethan played 5 of 8 games, hurt his knee, missed 3 games, was a little worried. Hey, I didn't have the year that I thought I'd have. Like, he was having a great year till he got hurt, and he was a little nervous, but he got good news that he's going to be going to the combine. So I think it's kind of cool for a kid that we just used to go out. We never ran drills. We just walked around various neighborhoods in North Regina. We'd go from light post to light post, the long bombs on Singer Crescent, to now he gets a chance full circle to come back and show what he can do in front of CFL scouts. And I'm honest to God when I talk about this. Yeah, would Ethan, he'd never turn his nose down at an NFL chance. What football player in their right mind would? You don't get to play forever, and there's more money in the NFL. But he's always wanted to be a CFL guy. He's always dreamt of running out of the tunnel at Mosaic Stadium, or being on the visiting sidelines against the Riders and playing CFL football, because he grew up that way. I was on the broadcast for 20 years. Most of it as a sideline and pre- and post-game show host. So he grew up naturally, got him tickets to every game. And so it's cool that way. It's something he's always wanted to do. Like I said, long way from anywhere, but he's one step closer. So couldn't be prouder of him. Thanks to all the coaches and everybody that's helped him get to where he is. Trainers, Rod Flair, Vincent Donaldson, now Dan Farthing, Nick Lewis, all those guys have had a hand in helping Ethan out. And then the coaches down at UND, Bubba Schwagert, longtime coach, stepping away, being replaced by Eric Schmidt there after 11 seasons as the head coach down there in North Dakota. So Bubba Schwagert is out, but thanks to Bubba and his great staff, Joel Swensfire and everybody that helped Ethan, and then Ryan Sheehan, and in particular, Mike Edom, Ben DeAndre, and Trayshawn Abrams-Webster, another great coach who played with the Dinos, drafted by Ottawa. Thanks to all those guys for helping Ethan get to where he is right now. Takes a village, right? Takes a village. So I did teach him everything I know, and then the other guy stepped in and taught it the right way. Anyway, thanks to all the great sponsors, AGT Foods Canada, Paul Waldo at Royal LePage, getting the real estate game with the 3-time Grey Cup champ, 306-502-5355, Gerhardt Studios, the Boys Next Door Window Cleaning, District Brewing, and Ward Tire Craft. We will talk to you next time. Thanks for checking us out. Let's get the extra.